On this day in 1977, Kenny Dalglish broke tens of thousands of hearts by leaving Celtic for Liverpool. Kenny Dalglish signed for Celtic as a 16-year-old a few weeks after the club won the European Cup in 1967. He made his league debut playing at right half in place of Bobby Murdoch in a 7-1 win over Raith Rovers on the 4th of October 1969. Dalglish was one of a rich crop of youngsters at Celtic in the late 60s, known as the Quality Street Gang, named after the characters featured in advertisements for the famous Nestlé boxes of confectionery on television from 1968. Dalglish at this time was not even regarded as the top prospect at the club. By the end of season 1969-70, George Connolly, Davy Hay and Lou Macari had all established themselves as first-team players, and it was Vic Davidson who was the goal-scoring prodigy, widely tipped to be the next to break through. It was in May 1971 that Dalglish announced his arrival in an end-of-season testimonial for Kilmarnock's Frank Beattie at Rugby Park. Guest players from Manchester City, Crystal Palace and Rangers were in the Kilmarnock side, but a Celtic team also including Connolly and Macari thrashed them 7-2, with Dalglish, now playing at centre forward, scoring an incredible 6 goals in a virtuoso performance. As the new season opened in August, Kenny Dalglish carried on where he left off against Kilmarnock and never looked back. He scored in all 3 matches as Celtic beat Rangers 3 times at Ibrox in a month. By season 1972-73, Jock Stein's carefully laid succession plan seemed to be coming together perfectly, with Dalglish and Danny McGrain joining Connolly, Hay and Macari as first-team regulars, and they showed every sign of being the core of a team that could take Celtic into the 1980s. Even the departure of Macari for a Scottish record fee of £200,000 to Manchester United in January 1973 didn't threaten to derail them, with plenty of cover up front in the shape of Dixie Deans, Bobby Lennox and Paul Wilson. McGrain, Connolly, Hay and Dalglish all played against Czechoslovakia the night Scotland sealed qualification for the World Cup finals in 1973, and Connolly only missed out on a place in the squad for the finals in 1974 because of a broken ankle suffered in a European Cup match against Basel in March. But all of Stein's best-laid plans were to unravel over the summer. Davy Hay had been unhappy about the wage structure at Celtic, but returned from the World Cup, having decided to stay. He was met by Stein, who informed him it would be best if he moved on, and the club accepted another Scottish record transfer fee of £250,000 from Chelsea. The departure of Hay probably cost Celtic 2 players. George Connolly was battling the personal demons that eventually saw him walk away from football, and Hay, his closest friend, had been a valuable stabilising influence. Connolly's walkouts became increasingly frequent, and by the end of season 1974-75, his senior career was effectively over. That left only Dalglish, McGrain and Paul Wilson of the Quality Street Gang. And as the quality of the side declined through the mid-70s, Dalglish increasingly felt his ambitions could not be realised at Celtic. He withdrew a transfer request in 1975 in the aftermath of Jock Stein's near-fatal car crash that summer, but by 1977, at the age of 26, felt he could wait no longer. After captaining Celtic to the double in 1976-77, he took part in Scotland's end-of-season tour of South America, but then refused to join the Celtic tour of the Far East and Australia in July, citing tiredness. But the writing was on the wall, and when the team returned in early August, Dalglish was determined to leave, despite Stein's increasingly desperate pleas for him to stay. Kenny Dalglish played his last game for Celtic in a pre-season friendly against Dunfermline at East End Park on the 9th of August 1977, and immediately afterwards met with Liverpool officials to thrash out what would be yet another Scottish, and this time British, record transfer fee of £440,000. Kenny Dalglish's departure wasn't just the loss of a star player, the club captain and talisman, one of the best players in Europe. It was also the end of a dream. that a fabulously talented group of youngsters could be handed on the baton from the Lisbon Lions and take the club to another European Cup. The final act played out in 1977-78 as injuries decimated the squad, including a serious ankle injury that struck Danny McGrain in October, keeping him out of the game for more than a year. It was no consolation to see Kenny thrive at Liverpool and score the only goal of the European Cup final at Wembley in May. A Shakespearean tragic hero is brought down both by his own, possibly just one single character flaw, circumstances out with his control, and the vagaries of fortune. If ever a football story could be made into a Shakespearean tragedy, it would be the story of Jock Stein's Celtic in the damned 1970s.